Thanks for tuning in to the Football Talk Squadron. I'm Dutch.
And I'm Maul.
And this is going to be our NFL breakdown, sort of our predictions in terms of what we think is going to happen. Pops was unable to join us, also unable to send me his playoff and Super Bowl picks. So I'm going to go ahead and just call it now. Pops is going to predict the Bears to go to the Super Bowl and win it all. That way, when it doesn't work out, that was Pops' prediction. So he has them from the AFC playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just the most obnoxious. Like, if that turns out to be true, Pops is going to be like, I'm not making another prediction. You make the predictions from here on out.
Yeah, just keep making fun of me. He'll take it.
All right, so how this is going to work is on a flight, I was sitting there and I wrote down questions I had for each team, AFC and NFC. And I think that will sort of allow us to talk about each team, get sort of a idea. This was sort of like my overarching theme for each team. Gives them all the ability to chime in. If I don't have anything to add on, I won't add on, but it will sort of give the prompt, I guess, to each team. Then after we get through each of the teams, we'll give our division winners, playoff predictions, and the Super Bowl champ. So you want to start NFC or AFC?
Let's start AFC.
AFC, we'll start with the Chiefs. What do they need to do to get back and win? What's the difference?
Ooh. Other than Patrick Mahomes not blowing out his star receiver's knee, I mean, that was like the difference, right? Like, that was a huge Rashee Rice back in the lineup. The hard part with the Chiefs right now is like I don't know if it's a them problem. Like, the NFL, we've talked about this, is very cyclical of like, when you have these runs of like where you're good for a while and then, you kind of, I think they've peaked. And interestingly enough, like, their division this year is, I think, going to be very competitive. I don't know where you have them. I have them still making the playoffs, but I don't have them winning the division. I could honestly see them being third in their division. And it's not to say, like, I think the Chiefs are that bad, but, like, let's be honest, last year, even though they were 15-2 or whatever their record was, they should have lost like 9 of those games, right? Like, that puts them in third place in that division. And again, from like the Vikings proved this 2 years ago. When you have that many close games, statistically, you're not going to repeat the amount of times that you win all of those one-score games. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like a statistical improbability. So I wrote in Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, but then I did a little Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, right? So like it could be either one. And again, I don't think that it's necessarily that the Chiefs have to do anything different. They have to be more dominant. Like, they can't let these super close games continue to happen. That's difficult with them losing coaches, losing star players. They're just getting old. Travis Kelce, who, through this run has been one of their highest producing, offensive weapons, is declining. And he's still a great tight end, but like, they're just getting to the point where they're losing some of the edge, whereas you've got the Chargers and the Broncos, who are a younger, up-and-coming team that I think is just going to, make it more difficult for them to, like, get back there.
It's funny that you bring up Rashee Rice, like, at the very beginning, because I remember after the Super Bowl, that was the first thing my dad said, was he was like, their wide receivers looked old. And Kelce looked old. Kelce looked old last season. And
yes.
The problem with Rice is, yes, you get him back. It's one of those ones where you don't know what you're getting because of a knee. Like, I'm sure he'll be healthy and he'll catch the football, but like, in terms of the explosiveness out of the cut, like, is he going to be able to trust his knee? Like, there's so many questions you don't know from an injured player until he gets out there. The issue is they really, like, they still have Xavier Worthy, but from a standpoint of what you were talking about, their roster, they are old. Like, Chris Jones is another year older. Like, the guys that they had are getting up there in age where you're getting, either like you said, they've either peaked or this is it. Like you got another year or two in it before you really have to start revamping a lot of pieces. The problem was in the offseason, they really didn't address the wide receiver position as a whole. I think that's until they trade for someone like you have Scary Terry out there. Like if the Chiefs were to go trade for him, yes, I know he's a little bit older. Like, is he better than anybody else they had out on that Super Bowl field? Yes. Like better than D-Hop.
Yeah. And again, if you could pair him like with a Rashee Rice, yeah, that would be dangerous. I hate to say this as well, but looking back at like some of the past Chiefs like Super Bowl teams, I like the way Isaiah Pacheco runs the ball. I really do. But their running game just doesn't feel like a threat ever. Like, or it hasn't in the last couple years. Whereas in some of those previous years where they had like Kareem Hunt or
Damian Johnson.
Damian Williams, I think
Williams,
it was. Yeah. Or even like Jamal Charles. Like they had guys that like it was a threat when they were running the ball. And again, this is not knocking on Isaiah Pacheco. I really do like them. I don't know if it's a scheme thing or what, but like their running game just doesn't feel like a threat.
Well, last year also they had a guard in Thuney playing tackle, and it showed up in the worst possible time in the Super Bowl, and they got absolutely blasted.
Which, again, goes back to my previous statement of, like, to be honest, like, I don't think they should have even been there. They made it there in the way that the puzzle pieces fell. Yes, they made it to the Super Bowl. I'm not taking that away from them. But from, like, who was the best teams, like, again, we were saying it all year that the Chiefs were not the best AFC team.
Yeah. All right, so sticking in the division, I'll go Chargers next. Is it more... Do the Chargers, in order to find success in the division, need Herbert to throw the football more?
Not necessarily. Simply just because of the way the Chargers have kind of started their scheme. I think they're comfortable with... I mean, they did fine last year. Where they go 10-6 last year, I think. And they didn't have to throw the ball that well. Now, it would help, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, Herbert's always the what if guy, you know. So, but I think they brought in a good running back. They've got two good running backs now, essentially, that fit the scheme, and they're going to just do that and play good defense. And I think that's going to continue their success.
I'm going to say this because I have seen so much this summer of their all season stuff.
If you bring up Quentin Johnson dropping a football.
Yes, dude, every single clip he's dropped, it's like he is legitimately Kadarius Toney. Like, the best thing that you can do, you got to get rid of him. Because too many times in a game, it's like, it may even been like a 1st and 10 where it's just like a drop for 7 yards. And it's like, well, that didn't matter. It's like, yes, it did. Like, it
100%.
It's so, like, not having the consistency, and it's become such a problem. Like, I really think that it's one of those ones that eventually Herbert's going to be like, dude, I'm just not going to throw the ball to him.
Yeah, he's going to start second guessing before he releases. And you know how that goes in the NFL, you know, those split seconds here and there, all of a sudden he's like, is he going to catch this? And he checks off of him, or that makes him take a sack, or it gets picked, or whatever. And it'll get blamed on Herbert. But like, you can't be a liability like that and expect to get the football.
Yeah, and that's sort of where my question formed is, like, I think that the Chargers are going to run the football again this year, but for them to really have that success to get past the Chiefs, you have to be able to throw. Like, the Herbert that we saw the first few years in the league, I really think that you got to see some just the ability to take some downfield strikes.
It's, for me, it's not so much like to beat the Chiefs. Yes, they're in their division, but like, to me, it's if you get behind in a football game, like that's where, like, the Chiefs, even though they weren't that good, because they could absolutely sling the rock, it didn't matter how far they were behind. Like, there was always this like slim chance of them coming back. If the Chargers can't throw the football super effectively, that's where you're going to get losses, because if you get down, you're not going to be able to like run your way out of deficits. You know what I mean? Like, and that's going to be the problem to me. Now, I think their defense is going to be solid to hopefully keep it close enough, where they can control the clock and run the football and, do that ground and pound type of thing. But that's it for me, is if you get down in games, you're not, the ability to not be able to come back quickly is what will be the downfall.
Transitioning to the Broncos. So this is sort of a theme with a lot of the second-year quarterbacks, especially the ones that had some form of success. So having that type of success first year, what prevents the sophomore slump for them and the Broncos?
Good coaching. I mean, if and Sean Payton's, again, we've kind of gone back and forth on like whether Sean Payton is a good coach or a bad coach, and it usually comes down to like, was Russell Wilson the quarterback or not? Which, it just like, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. If your quarterback sucks, you're gonna have a bad team. So I think if Sean Payton can call plays as if he's playing with Drew Brees, I think Bo Nix, again, I'll be the first to admit I was a Bo Nix, like, not hater, but naysayer. And from like, I didn't think he was going to succeed. And he surprised me. He did really, really well. Playing 8 seasons in college, gives you that that experience to do it. But he showed up and didn't look like the stage was too big for him. So if he can just even keel, if he just plays exactly like he did last year, I don't even need him to necessarily get better. Hopefully he does, and that's why I think I have the Broncos in second place, because Sean Payton can call plays for that young squad, dude. I think they're going to be a problem.
I think the reason they will be a problem, the defense is the best. I'd argue their defense is the best in their division.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's absolutely debatable.
With Surtain, like, from a roster standpoint, like, I think that Spags has a unique ability to just, he comes up with like a brilliant defensive plan, and it's hilarious because like you guys have guys like Snead and other guys that leave the Chiefs, go to another team like the Titans, just don't have the same success. Now that there's a lot of other factors outside of just a mano move like that, but from a standpoint of like, you look at who the Broncos have had, the fact that they have a rookie quarterback, and yet still their defense has really kept them in games and really had games won. They should have beat the Chiefs last year. Field goal block. They had opportunities, and they do. Like, even with Russell Wilson, I remember they went to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs, and everyone was just like, how? Like, and the Broncos always play the Chiefs tough. We'll see. I think their defense is a huge part of that. That's my big thing for keeping Bo out of the slump, is if you have a good defense, it helps a young quarterback so much, because it takes pressure off of being like, I'm down by 13. Like, they just scored again. I got to answer. Like, when the game's close, it makes it to where you don't put a lot of pressure on a young QB. Raiders. This your guy. The guy that you grew up idolizing. I almost feel like the black on black color choice today is a sign of you need an NFL team. Pete Carroll, USC, coming back, Raiders. Like, everything about it screams, this is the team of destiny for you. What's your realistic Pete Carroll year one expectations?
Realistically, not great. I think
you said not great. Is that 500? Like, where is that?
Sub 500. And again, it's nothing against one. Let's be honest. The team wasn't good last year. They have pieces. So I think, without calling it like a rebuilding year, it's just, when you get a new coach, new scheme implemented, all of that stuff, like, it just takes time. You know what I mean? Like, Dan Campbell didn't do it year one. It usually takes a year or two to kind of get that stuff implemented. Why I say sub 500 is primarily because of my previous statement of, I think this division is very, very competitive. Like, if this was the NFC South, sure, I think they could take the division, but it's not the NFC South. It's the AFC West. So they've got to play better teams more often. It's going to be harder to really make a statement. I think those variables just, it's going to be one of those where like there's going to be signs of like, yo, this team is doing well, or they're going to win games where you're like, man, I didn't see that one coming. But again, just from like a over the course of a season, I don't see them like really shock and awing just yet.
They have some good pieces. Like the biggest thing that I see from them that I don't like is their wide receiver core. It's just a bunch of no name. Jacoby Myers is their guy. The great news is I feel like they're going the exact same route that Jim Harbaugh went. They draft Ashton Genty. They're going to build behind running the football. I mean, that was Pete Carroll at USC, honestly. Reggie Bush. What was this? My dad always called him the spitting python. Lindell White. I mean, two-headed monster, run the football, throw when you need it to. Now, he still had a Heisman Trophy guy in Matt Leinart sitting behind, but from a he has his guy in Geno Smith.
I mean, again, he's got Geno, right? So they have the familiarity. So, like, that helps. It'll maybe fast forward some of that new scheme-ish type thing that's going on. But again, I go back to like they're in a very competitive division. They weren't a good team last year, so it's hard to all of a sudden expect that they're going to like run the table here.
Agreed. Next team, AFC North, will transition to them. You got the Ravens. For me, I view the Ravens as the best team in the AFC.
Agreed.
What is their biggest threat?
The playoffs. And like that's it. I mean, there's nothing else to it. Like name one weakness and something that they can't overcome. Every single issue they've ever, I mean, they could be like 3-time repeating Super Bowl champs right now in an alternate universe. And it's always just like one minuscule little thing here, and it's in the playoffs. That's it.
Zay Flowers getting hurt last year for the playoffs was big. Like he wasn't the same guy. And the crazy thing is like if Mark Andrews catches that 2-point conversion, I think they end up beating the Bills. And yeah, if they go head on head with the Chiefs, I think that they're in the Super Bowl. Now, do they beat the Eagles? I don't know. Like,
sure, yeah, that's a toss up.
That one's.
I bet it would have been a better game than what the Chiefs put up, though.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And that's all it is. I mean, like, it's funny because it's like playoff Lamar, blah blah blah. Like that's the joke. But that's the serious answer. Is just like the playoffs. Can they just avoid their dumb, consistent screw up in the playoff every year, and they're in?
I don't have anything to add to that. Steelers. What Rodgers do you expect? Packers Rodgers or Jets Rodgers? Or something in between?
Something in between, closer to Jets Rodgers, though.
Okay. So you think a little bit worse than better.
I mean, yeah, you're not getting peak Rodgers. Like, sorry, like there's only one person who defies time, and it's Tom Brady. Like Aaron Rodgers has proved that he's not that. That's not a knock on Rodgers. That's just, sorry, you're a little bit less good than the GOAT. You know what I mean? Like it's really a compliment. But I do think Rodgers is well past his prime. He's not going into like an amazing situation, right? Like a 500 team for the last 8 years is not like a fantastic situation. I think it's fine. Like the Steelers will be okay. They're probably going to go 500 again this year. They filled their leaving running back with like almost an identical, solid younger running back. So I like that. It's just going to be like there's nothing super exciting or like super worrisome about the Steelers to me.
If the Steelers, for me, the whole thing hinges on Rodgers. Like even more so with than the Jets. I think the Steelers have a way better team than the Jets did.
Sure. Especially
from like a defensive side with TJ Watt. You got Patrick Queen. I don't like the trade of trading Minka for Jalen Ramsey. That one's tough just because Minka really ran that defense, and Jalen, yes, he gives you, I think, a great number 2 corner, but I think the days of him being the lockdown number 1 corner are over. If they were to go trade, I know his name's been tossed around a lot since he's requested a trade. If they went out and got Scary Terry and paired him with DK Metcalf, it's not that I'm saying that they're going to win the division and be a Super Bowl contender, but I think it gives them a far better chance than what's currently on the roster at the wide receiver position.
I thought you were going to say Micah Parsons, which can you imagine TJ Watt on one side and Micah Parsons on the other side? But you're right. I mean, like, sure, there's probably a missing piece in there somewhere. The George Pickett thing was interesting to me because it felt like by getting DK, that was going to help George Pickett because George Pickett's a dog. I mean, if he wants to play and like focuses on that as opposed to fighting people, the dude is a dog. So if he could have some of the star power taken off of him by having DK there, I thought it was going to work out great. But then they went and traded him, so that was kind of weird. But yes, I agree. Like having some other option for Rodgers. I think the running game solid, their defense is solid. Again, there's nothing super exciting for me, but there's also nothing that's like worrisome that I think they're in trouble.
Agreed. Yeah, I can't argue that. Bengals. When does the defense become the storyline?
I said this earlier, but it was week 1 when Joe Burrow puts up 560 yards and throws for 7 touchdowns, but somehow they still lose the game. If we would have done this episode like 2 weeks ago, yeah, it would have been a different discussion as far as like they haven't signed Shamir Stewart, they haven't signed Trey Hendrickson. Like they're in trouble because their defense already was the problem, and now probably your 2 best guys aren't even going to play. Now, I think they've got that resolved. Shamar Stewart signed. I don't know if Hendrickson has signed yet.
He's not signed. He's just came out of the
ended his holdout. He's reported to training camp. Those are good signs, right? Like it's probably just some language at this point that'll get settled. So that's a good sign. It's obviously better than the alternative. So, this feels very USC 2023 to me, where it's like you're going to put up 50, 60 points every game, but like got a 50-50 shot still somehow of winning games. So that's really what it's going to be. I don't see a pullback from Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins production, and if that does continue, I think the defense is going to be the storyline from week 1 of, and let's be honest, to say that like, we think the Ravens are number 1. If the Bengals defense shows up and plays like NFL style defense, you could make an argument that the Bengals could be the number 2 team in the entire conference, right? With how good their offensive production is. They could outscore anyone in the NFL. But it's the defense.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about the Bengals, I saw they got rid of Moss, is just from a running game. When Mixon was there, it was just such a dynamic threat out of the backfield, and they really didn't replace that, which this is what happens is you pay 2 wide receiver 1 money, and you have Burrow at quarterback. It doesn't leave a lot of cap. And it's so frustrating because I really like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Higgins. I love the offense. I think like Burrow's at sort of the prime right now. This guy should be in the Super Bowl. We should see him win one, but he's a part of a terrible organization that consistently makes bad decisions with money in terms of how they play players, who they pick, and the whole thing with like Shamar Stewart and even Hendrickson, I'm just like, guys, like I wouldn't surprise me if they trade Hendrickson before the season begins. Like someone like the Lions, someone who's like, we got to win right now. Like we have our peak. I can see that it's the typical Bengals. Like it's what they do. Like I remember they wouldn't pay Carson Palmer. And Carson pretty much forced his way out. Like you think about that team with like TJ Houshmandzadeh, Ocho Cinco. Like they had Cedric Benson. Like they had all these dudes, and it was like the Bengals were that team, but it was like the organization couldn't get out of its own way to get them success. And they're doing the exact same thing. It's just now it's on the defensive side of the football for me.
Yeah.
Browns. How many different QB starters are going to happen this year? Also, side note, as you sent out the picture the other day, they don't have 4 QBs on the roster. They got 5. And also, I also sent out the text. They said that they're going to start Shedeur Sanders in this preseason game. I was like, it's the first time in my life I've ever said, I'm going to try to watch this Browns preseason game.
If someone really shows up and like takes the helm, I would say 2. But I don't see that happening just because it's the Browns. They're not a good team. They're going to lose a lot of games. And I can see them kind of like it's going to be an extension of their draft when they take Dylan Gabriel and you're like, oh. And then like later they take Shedeur Sanders and you're like, oh. Like that's what's going to happen through the season. They're just going to start kind of whoever and just give everybody kind of a shot, in my opinion. And when it doesn't work out or, they're losing games, they're going to make a move. And it's going to be, I probably like framed in this like, oh, we're trying to motivate the other one to like step up, and Shedeur is like going to be our guy eventually, but we want to make him, suffer by sitting on the bench. I don't know. Who knows what the Browns are doing with QBs? Like we haven't figured that out in the last 30 years. But so I'll say 4. I think there will be 4 separate starters this year for the Browns.
At a minimum. I'm in the same boat. I feel like if the Browns don't come out the gate just at least through the first 6 games like 500, you're going to see them just start testing.
Yep.
We're going to watch Dylan Gabriel play 2 games, and if he throws like 5 interceptions in a game, they'll go. And what's funny is I think what I can see is instead of going down the list, they'll like start Joe Flacco. He'll probably look good for like a game or 2, but he'll have like 4 picks, and then they'll put in Kenny Pickett, and then it will go back to Joe Flacco, and then it will, instead of going back to Kenny Pickett, it will go down to Dylan Gabriel, and then it will go back to Kenny Pickett instead of Joe Flacco. It will just be this like, it will be a game sort of like you see on draft day where you're just sort of sitting there, you're like, what are they doing? And you're like, they're doing the Browns. That's what the Browns do.
And even if Flacco like starts the season, but is just doing okay. And again, this is what I imagine happening. The Browns are going to get antsy, even because they're not going to be winning a bunch of games. I really don't think they're going to be winning a bunch of games. Even if the play from Joe Flacco is not the reason why they're losing games, the organization is going to get antsy and go like, we've got 2 young guys here. Let's just see what they got. And they're going to force them into the game. And that's probably going to cause problems, and then they're going to force the next guy into the game, and then when that doesn't work, they'll probably then either go back to Joe Flacco like you said, or then just go, well, let's see what Kenny Pickett's got. That's why I think it's going to be 4. They're going to force the 2 young guys into the game at some point during the season because they're going to be antsy to win games now, and obviously we don't think that's going to be the answer.
Facts. AFC East, Bills. What do they need to do to get past the Chiefs in the playoffs?
Hope that the Ravens beat them first, I guess. I mean, they should do some 3D chess end of season schedule manipulation on they need to figure out where they're going to be and where the Chiefs are going to be and where the Ravens are going to be, and either lose or win a game intentionally to seed themselves where they don't have to play the Chiefs. AKA either be number 1 and get that first round bye and let somebody else knock the Chiefs out in the first round, or be 4th. So, I don't know. Somehow get it where they don't have to play the Chiefs.
This for me is the 90s for the Bills all over again. Except this, instead of it being the Super Bowl, it's the Chiefs. It's it's the one thing they can't, if they had gotten past the Chiefs last year, I'm not saying they beat the Eagles just based upon how well the Eagles played, but it's one of those ones where I think anyone that came out, whether it was the Bills or the Ravens, they give the Eagles a far better contest.
Oh, yeah.
The Eagles were just on win that game, which I think a huge part of that was the fact that it was a repeat for the Eagles. Vengeance played a role in that game. I saw clips of Lane Johnson talking to the defense. And he's like, just remember what shirts they had on their Super Bowl parade last year, and they were wearing 0 sack shirts. And he was like, that's on you guys. And it was like, it's all the fire they needed. You put a different team out there that there's not that vengeance factor. It's a different game.
100%.
And for me, I'm in the same boat. Like, I sit back and I look at it and I'm like, if the Bills can get past the Chiefs, they're going to the Super Bowl. If the Bills have to play the Ravens in the AFC Championship, I'd probably give it to the Bills. Just because the Bills, like, they know they can beat the Ravens. It's like, this is their Goliath that they either have to beat them or hopes, like what you said is probably the most true statement, which is they just get beat by someone else and you don't have to deal with them.
That's the best thing that could happen to the Bills.
Next, Patriots. So this is like, I'm trying to phrase this question. I went over how to phrase this question, and it's more, I want to know, which one do you think does better? Do you think Drake May has a better second year, or that Vrabel makes the Patriots perform better in his first year? And I know that's a loaded question because one sort of goes in hand with the other.
Yeah.
But it's more like trying to I think that both of us think that Drake May did better than we expected him to do last year. And I think we have high expectations of him. But it's also a sophomore season with a brand new coach. But Vrabel's known for defense. It's sort of, what do you think of the Patriots as a whole? Like, what are your expectations for them?
High expectations, I think, is maybe an overstatement. Like, I have better expectations for Drake May, and I do think he will continue progressing. High expectations, though, is not necessarily something I would use to define the Patriots. Again, I think they're just going to be better than last year, but really no mega threat to anybody. And again, that's I'll probably say the Vrabel thing. Like, I think Vrabel will make the team as a whole better. I do think that in turn makes Drake May look better. But to be honest, I didn't think Drake May looked terrible last year anyway. So I think he'll probably just look a little bit better than he did last year. But the team overall will just do a little bit better. But again, better from bad is not necessarily good, if you can wrap your head around that one.
It's true. It's true. The Dolphins. Are they the biggest pretenders in the NFL?
Outside of the Cowboys?
Dang.
Touche!
In the AFC.
Never pass up an opportunity to knock the Cowboys down a peg.
Never.
A few years ago, like, if you're looking at that Dolphins, I'd say yes. But I think over the past couple years, like, we've kind of seen what the Dolphins are. They can be a good team. They're never a threat to go super deep, simply just because they can't play away or in playoff type temperatures. Like, sorry, the playoffs in the NFL are cold. It's during winter. Like, if you can't play in the cold, you won't win the playoffs.
And unless the Dolphins have the number 1 seed and you force everyone to Miami, yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Which that's not happening because they're not even the best team in their division.
This is the second. Are we already in the downfall of the Dolphins? Like, is it just downhill from here?
I mean, I don't say downhill. Like, I don't think they'll continually get worse, but like, there's not a lot. I haven't seen a whole lot of them like getting better. And again, it's just one of those, like, every year that passes, if you have a young team that's like a bunch of rookies, like, sure, there's like a natural progression that you can expect to happen. Excuse me. But like, they're not old, but at some point, you stop being young in the NFL, and it happens pretty early, and you're kind of just like, every year that passes, unless they get like new toys to play with, they are going to just kind of, standstill. Man, excuse me.
Bless you.
But so I wouldn't say the downfall, but I don't expect them to like get a ton better.
This is the reason I asked that. I just feel like this is sort of this, all the shininess and like the idea of like, oh, it's exciting and everything is gone. And I feel like Mike McDaniels is on the hot seat. Like if they have another like around 500 year and just sort of sputter and don't make the playoffs like they did last year, I think he's gone. Like I can see a regime change, them get rid of Tyreek Hill. You know, he's already complained a lot in the offseason. Still with them. It just seems to be a broken roster, in my opinion, outside of the three players of Tua, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill. It's a mess.
I know Tua gets a lot of hate. I don't think Tua's as bad as some of the haters make him out to be. I also don't think he is like elite level talent. So he's like kind of somewhere in the middle, which is fine. The weird part with me and the problem I have with Mike McDaniels is that like when you don't have an elite level quarterback, if your quarterback goes down, you should be able to kind of still implement the same scheme, right? Like there's nothing really that Tua does that like another average quarterback shouldn't be able to do. But for whatever reason, in Mike McDaniel's scheme, like Tua is the linchpin, which again is kind of weird. Like normally it's your best player or like your most explosive kind of guy that you like draw up plays for that will be the linchpin. To me, that's either Tyreek or Devon Achane or Waddle. Like you have three electric weapons, but somehow Tua, who is probably 4 of 4 when it comes to like explosiveness, is the linchpin. And I get it, you're like, oh, well, it's the quarterback. Yeah, that's fine, but like anybody should be able to throw a bomb to Tyreek. Anybody should be able to hit Waddle on an over route. Like anybody could be able to turn around and hand the ball to Devon Achane. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like Tua is doing anything super special, but somehow in Mike McDaniel's scheme, Tua is the linchpin. And because Tua is who he is and doesn't stay on the field for 17 straight games, that's a problem to me.
Yeah. The Jets. Simple question.
Pass.
After Rodgers, can it get worse?
I mean, they won a game last year, so yeah, it can.
We were talking on the phone either yesterday or the day before, and you were talking about how Aaron Glenn just kicked off the offense because Fields was like 3 of 10 or something in the red zone, like they couldn't move the ball, and he just ended up kicking the offense off the field.
Yeah, they got like a delay of game in the red zone at like 3 and 10, and instead of trying 3-15, Aaron Glenn was just like, no, like you don't even deserve to try the conversion. Get off.
I said this to you in text, and I have to bring it up. It's one of these ones that I can't for the life of me understand why Aaron Glenn, of all the places to go, went to the Jets, and it's because the Jets have always been this way. Like outside of the years with Rex Ryan that they went to back-to-back AFC championships, which might as well be the same time length ago as Joe Namath winning the Super Bowl for how bad they've been since then. It is a coaching graveyard. If you go here, just know you're not making it back to the NFL. Like
I could see if he'd have taken that job after the Lions like became back to the normal Lions, right? Like you run with the Lions and it's like, okay, the Lions are declining, they're not winning, they're not a threat anymore. Okay, it's time for me to move on and take the head coach. But like you're in peak Lions domination right now. Like this, you could win a Super Bowl. He could have won a Super Bowl with the Lions. Like the Lions have Super Bowl contender written all over him. So yes, it's very surprising that he took that. Now, his logic may be that when the Lions start downfalling, that job's not there for him anymore. But I would argue that if you're a decent coach on a good team, like there's going to be a spot for you somewhere, because some of these coaches that have ran through the NFL are just awful. And You're right. Like it was kind of a surprising timing for Glenn, but it's who knows. Like I wish him the best, but the Jets and history have proven otherwise.
Yeah, I've seen this story before. It doesn't end well for anybody. AFC South, wrapping up the AFC. Texans, any threat to them in the division?
Maybe. I think the Jags could give them a little bit of a threat, and I think that's just because the Texans aren't super dominant. I think CJ Stroud is still kind of the hype around his rookie year is still lingering, but they're not that good. They're good. And they should win it still, but you know they could slip up some games, and who knows.
Agreed. It's funny. You're going to like this next question. The Jags. Is this the year that, as a consensus as a whole, people start to question whether or not Trevor Lawrence is the answer for Jacksonville?
No.
You don't think so?
If they haven't done it already, then it won't ever happen. They will continue to make excuses for him.
I know they will, but I'm sitting back. That coach in the offseason, the Duval, I'm just like, dude. Him coming off the injury, they get rid of a bunch of wide receivers. Like, the team's changed, but there's still this, like, I just sort of look at the Jags and the fact that, like, the first question I ask about the Texans, any threat? And you're like, well, they're not that. It's one of these ones where it's like, you want to answer, yes, there is a threat. But the sad fact of the matter is, there's not. Like, the only threat
teams suck.
Yes, the only threat to the Texans is the Texans. Can you not implode?
This is a divisional question again. Like, if you put the Texans in the AFC West and you bring the Raiders to the AFC South, like,
Raiders probably win the division.
Raiders are winning the division. Yeah, like, and we're kind of being facetious, but like that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, and it's again, I don't think the Texans are that good. I'm just saying, like, the rest of the division is just not a threat, really. Like, the Jags could easily still win the division because the division is bad, but it's. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of it's a little bit of a toss up, honestly. The Texans should win it, though. I'll just say that they should win the division.
The Titans. Will Cam Ward be better than Will Levis?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I've seen everything I've seen. The thing I really like about Cam Ward, I do want to brag on him. I love when a young quarterback shows what I like to call like the Peyton Manning type of like mentality. Like, Cam Ward was up at the podium. He's like, dude, I'm the first one in the building and I hold other people. Like, if you don't want to be here, he's like, we get an opportunity to play this game. Like, if you're not putting everything into it, why are you here? And my dad still talks about it. Like, you look at Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning on draft day. They're like, Peyton, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm flying to Indy. I got to get a playbook. Like, I'm behind. I got to start studying. I want to get around my teammates. And they're like, Ryan Leaf, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to Hawaii, dog. I'm partying. Like, and it was that signaled their whole career. I look at like Cam Ward and like how the approach he's taken. It's with a bad team. Titans are bad. I give him a great chance to find success if the Titans can just put some pieces around him.
And if Cam Ward's like attitude or poise, however you want to frame it, transitions from what he showed in college to the NFL, they might not be a good team, but like he's going to be like the shining star for the team that can help maybe build around it, because he doesn't get spooked or like worried, or he's not going to have some of these dumb Will Levis like turning around throwing left-handed between his legs interceptions. Like, I mean, Will Levis made a highlight reel or a low light reel, if you will. It's just from all those crazy plays, and I don't think Cam Ward's going to do any of that. They might not win more games because the team is bad, but like he's going to be a better NFL quarterback than Will Levis, guaranteed.
Yeah, if someone was like, can you show me a butt fumble that's not a butt fumble, I would just turn on Will Levis highlights. To the Colts. Give me your prediction on how the Richardson Danny Dimes works out throughout the season. In terms of who do you think is the guy that comes out, and then what happens with that guy? It's a loaded question because
I don't know. I think
it's like predicting which river does the dumpster on fire flow down.
Yeah, Richardson's kind of already shown a couple times that like he may not have what it takes to be in the NFL, or like that he even wants to be there. Like he's took himself out of the game with last year. Like that's inexcusable. Maybe he's had a change of heart. Maybe the ownership or the coaching has changed his attitude. I think he's their guy for now. Like they want him to be the guy. And I think Danny Dimes is just there to be the motivation, or like if Richardson does take himself out of the game again, they at least have someone to take a snap.
I mean, yeah. I think we see Danny Dimes take over about week 5 at a minimum. And I think they ride with him to the end. And I think Richardson's gone at the end of the year. And
wow.
I don't think that Richardson gets picked up by anybody. He'll get picked up by someone. I mean, if DJU is out there playing, third string for the Chargers, of which, side note, all of us were talking about how bad the Chargers QBs were going to be in that game, and for the life of us, the Lions were like, hold my beer. So that wraps up the AFC. NFC, Eagles, what's the threat to repeat?
The threat of repeating? Like, that's the answer. It's just tough to do.
Oh, it's super tough to do. I mean, it's what made the Chiefs going back for 3, a work within itself, just of how tough it is to get back that many times. I would argue, personally, it's the Commanders. That's their biggest threat in the NFC.
I would say probably the Lions, maybe even the Rams. Those are my 2 other threats. I don't see the Commanders as being a super mega threat just because they're in the same division, where like they're probably both making the playoffs. Like even if the Eagles don't win the division somehow, they're still gonna make the playoffs, and like they probably won't have to face the Commanders again. I don't know. I still think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC though.
100%. I'm not arguing that. Commanders, what prevents the Daniels sophomore slump? Which is a 2-parter, because this 2-part comes in. Does that hinge on them getting Scary Terry back?
That's actually, I didn't really consider that in what my brain was thinking right now. That could be a factor for sure. It's almost like what I was talking about with DK, like the Steelers. Like they got Debo, and I was like, sweet, dude, they got another toy to play with. But then if they lose Scary Terry, it's like, ugh, now you're putting Debo in a tough spot. I don't know why. The timing of it all seems weird for the Scary Terry thing. That could be a factor, though. I think it's just going to come down to play calling. Personally, I don't see a sophomore slump. I don't see it happening.
I think their team defensively will be good again, and they got a lot of other pieces. I just sit back. I'm pulling it up just because I want to see what it was in terms of. I believe that Scary Terry has led them. Yes, now I'm pulling it up. Since 2020, Scary Terry has been the leading wide receiver. Actually, all the way back to 2019. 2018, the last time that someone else other than Scary Terry was the leading wide receiver was Jordan Reed, a tight end. I just sit back and I go, I'm telling you, it's like the Titans when they traded A.J. Brown. It's like, I'm just here to caution. I know Scary Terry's getting a little bit older in age, but when you take the number 1 receiver off your team that caught the most balls, you're going to see some regression. It's plain and simple. Pay the dude. Just pay him. Keep Jaden Daniels with that guy. That's the best thing that you can do for your quarterback is keep that continuity. Pay him. Can't emphasize that enough. The Cowboys. Is this the fall of Dak Prescott?
No, I mean,
You don't think so? You don't think this is going to be like them getting rid of him?
no. If they didn't do it last year, I mean, why would they do it this year? Last year was awful.
Did they pay? So did they pay Micah, or did they trade him?
Dude, I don't know. I have no way of judging what on earth Jerry Jones will do. I mean, like, I have no idea. No idea. Should they pay him? Yeah. They should.
Yeah. I think that if, regardless of what happens with Micah this year, whether they pay him, trade him, no matter what happens, the success or not success, more likely, of the Cowboys will be put on Dak's shoulders, which is, I feel bad for the dude because you sit back and you look at it from a standpoint of they only have CD Lamb. They have a good tight end in Ferguson. They get a brand new head coach who was not anything special. He was already there in Schottenheimer. They get rid of Mike McCarthy. You look at defensively, the fact that they don't want to play or pay Micah is not a good thing. It's yet again another typical Jerry Jones thing.
Yeah, they're a mess.
A mess. Like last year, I had them entering the playoffs just to watch them get beat. I'm not dumb enough to do that again because they're not making it. Sorry.
I almost did it again this year as I was doing it. I was like, like just because I was looking for a seventh team in the NFC, and I was kind of like bouncing through some teams, and I was like, I forgot about the Cowboys. And then I started like really thinking about the Cowboys, and I was like, absolutely not, dude. They're a mess right now.
Speaking of messes, the Giants. How much worse does it get for them with Russell Wilson?
I think it gets better. I mean, there's again, this is the whole like better than bad isn't necessarily good, but like I think they're going to be okay. They're not going to be good, but like I don't think they get worse.
The only side note to that I can see happening where I think it does get worse is I still think the Giants are a bad team. They end up firing Dabble, put the blame on him. New coach comes in and it's like, I got to figure out if Jackson Dart's my guy. And so the best case for Jackson Dart is they don't fire Dabble and they let either Winston or Russell Wilson play the whole year. Sit on the bench, figure it out.
Yep.
Like, get used to being in the NFL. When it's your time, we're going to call you up, but we're not going to throw you into what is already a difficult situation in the NFL. But then you put them into the New York market, and it's like you can ruin a kid immediately.
Russ has been in this situation before. Like he can handle this. He's a good enough quarterback to like. Again, he's not going to like win the Giants a Super Bowl, but like he can handle this pressure and like the situation that he's in. He will show up every week. But by throwing a young guy into this situation, all of a sudden, like, hey, go win us some games, even though that like the rest of the team couldn't. We've seen that play out too many times, and it's detrimental to their career. So you're right. For Jackson Dart's sake, sitting behind Russell Wilson is a godsend. Hopefully, the Giants don't make any hasty decisions mid-season.
Agreed.
But the Giants let go of Saquon, so they're known to do bad things.
Hey, at least they documented it all for us on Hard Knocks. That way we can hold forever. Yeah. That video will be out there.
Sound life advice. If you're going to make a stupid decision, let's film it.
Thank you. Those clips never got old, especially every time he's at the playoffs and the owner just being like, man, I just hope he doesn't go to one of our opponents. And it's Saquon's gone to a touchdown. Saquon wins the Super Bowl. And it was just, and they kept throwing those clips together, and that was glorious. NFC South, Bucks. Are they the best offense on paper in the NFL?
Yes, by far. Like, oh, in the NFL?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Who's better?
The Eagles.
I give you that. I think they're better than the Lions on paper.
That one's close. That would probably be like my closest comp to them. But yeah, I would agree. I might give the nod to the Bucks there.
They're good on paper.
Oh yeah, they're great on paper. They're fantastic on paper. Just getting better.
Yes, the Bucks, I think, are going to surprise a lot of people this year. Just if their defense was anything like it was when they won the Super Bowl, I would lean to them challenging the Eagles for the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Wow.
Just their defense was a huge linchpin last year, especially in the secondary. But when we were talking about their offense in fantasy, it's like, look, Baker has shined. You got Mike Evans, who hasn't had less than 1,000 yards in a season. Yes, I know Godwin's coming back from an awful ankle injury, but then you have what's this, the guy they just drafted, Ejigba from Ohio State, and Tez Johnson, the wide receiver from
Ibuka, and Jigba's on the Seahawks. Yeah.
My bad.
Basically the same Ohio State receiver.
Yeah. It's just a name that starts with an E that I can't pronounce.
Yeah, a lot of consonants mixed together.
Yeah. That's why my daughter the other day was like, "You want to go on Wheel of Fortune?" I was like, "I don't need that type of shame when I mispronounce something." Ain't gonna happen. But from their standpoint, they have a ton of weapons.
Yeah,
like they should run through the NFC South.
Oh yeah,
no problem. Next, this one's Falcons. Does Cousins get back to the start before the end of the season?
Outside of injury, no.
Okay. You think they stick with Penix the whole time?
Yes.
I think Penix is going to have some struggles, and I think there will be a lot of pressure from the organization. And it's not because it's Kirk Cousins, but it's because of how much they paid Kirk Cousins that it's like, you might want to think about.
They feel pot committed, so they might.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fair point. My argument would be when they made the switch last year, I thought that was idiotic. Like, I don't want to. Cousins was not playing good. Like, I won't say that,
but he wasn't playing awful.
They were literally like tied for first place in the division when they made the switch. Like, that to me screams like they've got either some sort of vendetta or there's an organizational failure or there's like something else going on that we weren't privy to. And I thought the timing of that was moronic. I thought Penix was just absolutely set up for failure. He did okay. He did fine. And again, I think it's one of those, like, the amount of experience he had in college, just from a timing standpoint, paid dividends. It's like a Bo Nix scenario almost. So the fact that he was able to come in that situation and still just do fine, outside of injury, he's going to get better, and there's going to be no need to go to Cousins.
The Panthers. So this is a long-winded question. Just, you have to listen. The question revolves of how close do they get to repeating history. So in the past 2 times that the Yankees have went to the World Series and lost, that same year the Panthers were terrible, did not make the playoffs. But the year following, they both times the Panthers opened the season against Jacksonville, of which they're doing yet again this year, and both of those Panthers teams went to and lost the Super Bowl. So how close did the Panthers get to repeating history?
I don't know what unit of measurement we're using here, but I'll say negative yards. They're not even getting out of their division, so they're not going to make the playoffs. Therefore, it dashes all hopes.
I'm going to call this right now.
Mark the tapes.
Mark the tapes. From a standpoint of how bad they were last year, I think that they are going to surprise a ton of people. And I know that's not like a statistical thing. I wanted to tell you this a few weeks ago from a fantasy standpoint. I'm telling you right now that Hunter Renfrow is coming back. He is on the Panthers roster. That is I'm not talking you draft him early, but my last pick of my fantasy draft would be Hunter Renfrow if he's still there. I don't think he will be. I'm telling you right now that dude, I watched him torment Alabama for years, and he was fantastic at Oakland. Like, guys could not guard him, and he was a ball magnet. The Panthers need a wide receiver. They went out and they got McMillan from Arizona, but Hunter Renfrow is that slot dude that I'm telling you, I think puts up monster fantasy points this year. I think he's going to be a home run. I think the Panthers look a ton better offensively. Their defense is still going to be a huge linchpin for them, but I do think that the Panthers play a lot more competitively in the division than they did last year. And I think they played competitively across the NFL. People forget that they took the Chiefs to the wire. Like, should have beat them. The Panthers in the second half of the season, you watch that team and you go, dude, they were not a bad football team. Not as bad as they started. I think they are dramatically improved this coming year.
I'll buy all that. I don't see them getting to the playoffs, though.
Guess we'll find out what I say. Heads up, they do. The Saints. Is this the return of the Aints?
Yes.
Do they win a game this year?
Like, if you're in a survivor pool, you're targeting them at least initially until the foreseeable future.
It's funny that you say it. We've already talked about this because you look at their games and I'm telling you, I think through the preseason, everyone's going to be like, yo, dog, Saints are going to be awful. Awful. Like Slough and Rattler. And it's
Chuck.
Whatever. And he's going to get shucked. Oh, you're correct on that. Like, they are going to be awful. And if I'm wrong on that, I may just stop talking about football altogether, but I don't see any semblance of the Saints having any type of success next year.
This is for Pops when he watches this later. This is like the opposite of the Bears. Every year, almost every team, the Bears are especially good at this. They're always the off-season Super Bowl champs. You know, like everybody's like this. Like almost every team, though, after draft and trades, like every team has this like, hey, this is why we're going to be better than last year, right? The Saints are like the one team this year that's like, dude, you guys got worse. I mean, for real, like everybody else has this like, oh, hey, we got a new quarterback, we got new coaching, like we did different things and like this is why we'll be better. Whether it comes to fruition or not is a completely different story, but like there's at least a discussion of like how we got better. The Saints are the one team where you're like, y'all got worse. And if someone can prove me otherwise, like I would love for a Saints fan to call in and be like, yeah, you're right. You know, like what the best thing that happened is like Alvin Kamara is still alive. Like that is it.
I agree. The fact that they went out and got Kellen Moore, I sit back and look at and I go, let's think about from a history standpoint what happened. Goes to Dallas. Dak has success, but I would argue that when you look at the team as a whole, it was a good team. Goes to the Chargers. Does not have success. Gets fired from offensive coordinating. Goes to the Eagles. The Eagles are stacked. And up until they got Saquon, like I don't put a lot into an offensive coordinator. Like it's sort of like that Bill Burr of like when a guy like takes off and jumps from the free throw line and they're like, oh, that was an athletic move. And he's like, yeah, like, and they're like, why didn't you call it a smart move? And he's like, because at no point I didn't think maybe I should jump from the 3-point line and dunk this. Like, I don't have that in me. I look at the same thing with Saquon. Like, it wasn't a great offensive thing to turn around and hand it to Saquon. Like, yo, just give the dude the ball. Like, that was the Eagles' problem all 2 seasons ago is they had too many running backs and they couldn't turn around and just give the ball to DeAndre Swift. Like they kept going through this rotation and they finally got their guy and it was simple. Turn around and hand the ball to Saquon. Period. Just get him the ball. And it won them games. You now look and him going to New Orleans, it's like he has nothing. He doesn't have a quarterback. He has an old Alvin Kamara who hasn't shown any potential in the past 2 years. Dude, they're terrible. Terrible.
Bad.
Sorry. Bad. Final. NFC West. Is this Stafford's last ride, and do you think he can get him to the top?
Yes and no. I do think this is like their best shot and kind of his last ride. Interestingly enough, he is, I think, kind of going to be the differentiator of this team. I feel like we've said that a couple different times, and it sounds obvious because he's the quarterback, but it's a different situation with Stafford because like they've got the weapons, they've got the defense. It's Stafford's just kind of been on this slow, steady decline because he's old, but like he can still ball. There's just not anything like super exciting about it. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna be like if he can stay healthy and like get his guys the ball like we know Stafford can do, they've got a great shot at it. But if he falters kind of at all, they're gonna stumble, and then it'll probably be the end of Stafford.
Yeah, I agree on that. I don't really have anything else to add to that. 49ers. I feel like this is a team that has the highest ceiling, but also the lowest floor. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. That's a great way to put it. Like, I think they're kind of being slept on, where people forget, like, this was like a Super Bowl contending team just a few years ago, and they don't look terribly different from that. But at the same time, they were last place in their division last year. So it's like they've got both of those extremes for sure. They can come out and surprise people. I think CMC is going to be like the huge factor there, right? Like it's easy to
Can we get an honest injury report before the season begins?
That's a great point. Like it's easy to let recency bias kind of cloud your mind or your judgment of thinking like the Niners were terrible last year, then they're just going to randomly suck again this year. But they could win. They could win the division. That being said,
Cardinals.
We've literally already. I was just going to say, sorry, we've already seen the playbook of like how easily they can become last place as well. So that, yeah, high ceiling, but also lowest floor.
Cardinals. Is this the final year of Murray?
No. It's going to be like a well duh answer. No, in my opinion, because, spoiler alert, I got the Cards making the playoffs this year. So if that happens, obviously, then no, they're not going to move on. But if my prediction is wrong, which history says it will be, maybe. There's going to have to be like some outside factor of like they're going to be able to go get somebody to replace him. But just because he's not getting it done, I don't think is necessarily going to be the reason that they move on. There's going to be whoever comes out of the draft. If maybe the Cards think they can go get him, then maybe they move on from him. But I would probably just say no as a general answer.
Final team, Seahawks. Next year, with Sam Darnold, do we see more of playoff Sam Darnold with the Vikings that was bad, or do we see more of regular season Sam Darnold that was good with the Seahawks?
Are you going to say which one we're going to see more of?
Yeah.
Probably playoff Sam Darnold. There's going to be moments of like, wow, that was, that was great because Sam Darnold is a good football player, but there's nothing super exciting about the Seahawks right now. And I just don't think it's going to get it done. If he was surrounded by a better team, then yeah, I think, that's what it's going to come down to.
The reason I asked this is last season, we asked this pretty much exact same question for Kirk Cousins. And it was like, you're leaving Minnesota, where you have JJ, you have Addison, you have Hawk. They didn't have Aaron Jones at the time. They had Dalvin Cook. But it was like, they had all these pieces that you set back and you were like, dude, like, he looked great. Cousins played really well in Minnesota that last year. And you were like, how do you think he's going to transition in Atlanta? And it was one of those ones I think all of us were just like, I think that you're going to see a downfall of Kirk Cousins, which it wasn't like this downfall, but it wasn't the same Kirk Cousins that was putting up the stats that he was in many.
Kirk was also coming off of a terrible injury.
Yes.
Darnold is healthy.
Healthy.
And a lot younger.
Correct. But when you look at Seattle's offense, you're like,
again,
it's JSN and Walker.
It's not the Vikings, I'll tell you that.
Correct. And that's where I feel bad because you look at what he left and you go, I don't know. I just don't know. And that's not our last team in the NFC because we even talked with the NFC North. I'll save the Bears for last just so we can take a dump on them since Pop's ain't here. Because heads up, that's where it's going. Lions.
Also where they're going to finish.
Yeah. I couldn't say that bad, but Lions. This is purely written off the Hall of Fame game. Based upon watching the Hall of Fame game, your expectation for the Lions this year are what? Is it going to be similar? Like, I feel like everyone was like, man, this feels like foreshadowing for sure.
Oh, I saw something about how the team who won the Hall of Fame game for the last like 20 years hasn't made the playoffs or something like that. Like I can't remember the stat, but then it was like some cheese and smile from Dan Campbell of like, yeah, I knew that, and that's why that happened because they look awful. I mean, rightfully so, though, man. I mean, they had a linebacker returning kicks. Like, give me a break, dude. Like, it's not a knock on anybody. It's just it was what it was. It was the Taco Bell game.
But let me tell you something. If Jared Goff ever gets hurt during the season, Lions are done. Because them backup quarterbacks, trash.
Yeah, they just got to put opposite team jerseys on their wide receivers, and he'll hit them every single time.
Oh, my gosh. Dude. Yeah. The Lions, to me, are the trickiest to predict this season. Just because of this, like, it's so hard to get out of your mind what happened against the Commanders for as good as they were in the regular season. Like, I thought the Commanders were going to put up a game, and we all sort of predicted it to stay close, but at no point did anyone say Commanders are absolutely going to blow them out of the building.
I try to look at games like that as like statistical improbabilities. Like, that's why we play the game. The NFL, we've talked about this all the time, is like when you're playing NFL level talent, there's always that possibility. Like, we've seen that. The Lions did that the year prior too. Remember when they were playing the Ravens and the Ravens beat them like 60-0 or whatever it was? Like, there are those times where you just don't show up and then the other team does, and it just looks super mega lopsided. But again, you play that game 10 times. Honestly, I think the Lions probably win like 7 of them. So, yeah, did it happen the way it did? Absolutely. There's no like taking it back. This isn't college. But I don't think that defines the Lions going forward. Yes, they lost their defensive coordinator and their offensive coordinator. My two knocks to that are their defense wasn't really the thing keeping them in games anyway. Right. So it's not like all of a sudden like, oh, our defense is going to suck. Well, it wasn't that good to begin with. So that's fine. They're going to get Hutch back. If you have Hutch, they're Super Bowl contenders. You know what I mean? Like, so if he stays healthy, like I think that's a huge boost to the defense that we're kind of already discounting. Offensively, yes, they lost their coordinator, and that sucks. But what I think people forget is before they had that coordinator, when the Lions were still good a couple years back, do you remember who was calling plays? Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was calling plays. Guess who they still have on the offense, like on the team? Like, Dan Campbell is still there. So, like, yes, there are holes that they've, created for themselves, but like, I think there's an answer for all of those. Like, they've still got a guy who can call plays. Their offense is fantastic, full of weapons, and their defensive, their defense, which wasn't that really much of a problem or a hole to begin with, they're getting their best player back. So, like, it's easy, or you can see the logic of why you would discount the Lions or think like, they're going to have some regression. But like, I don't see it. I think they're going to be the same Lions that we've seen for the last 2 years.
My dark horse prediction is that if Micah Parsons gets traded to the Lions.
That would be filthy. That'd be fantastic.
That to me makes, I think that Dan Campbell's in that mindset of, if he knows how hard he was a player, like he knows how difficult it is to get back and find success. And it's like, sometimes you got to sell out. And if I'm Detroit, dude, that's what I'm doing. I don't care. Like, I may bury this team for the next 5 years in terms of first round or second round picks, but screw it. I want to win a Super Bowl. This is my best chance. Like, I got to go now. That's what I do if I'm them. The Vikings. What is your expectations for JJ McCarthy?
Not nearly as high as apparently everybody else in the world. They're talking about JJ McCarthy like he's already winning Super Bowls, and I just don't understand why. Like, I saw, it had to be the dumbest picture the other day. It was like all of the year 2 quarterbacks, and it was like their ceiling versus their floor. It had Caleb Williams as his ceiling was Jordan Love, but his floor was bust. Which, if you're going to give Caleb Williams the bust, then everybody else's floor should be bust, right? But no, JJ McCarthy's floor was Sam Darnold, the guy who just went like 15-2 with the Vikings.
You are correct. That's the dumbest thing I've heard.
I'm like, on what planet is that a floor for a guy who has never thrown a pass in the NFL? Like, and this is not a JJ McCarthy like hate session. I'm just saying, we don't know who he is. He wasn't fantastic in college. You know what I mean? He wasn't like this gunslinging maniac out there. So like, I don't understand where this is coming from.
It's the same thing with Arch Manning at Texas. It's like, at least we've seen him play a little bit, but the idea that like, this is the dude that's going to be a national championship, be the number 1 overall pick, and win the Heisman, it's one of those ones where I just sit back and I go, we really haven't seen him play. Like,
but apparently, I mean, people got him penciled in like the Vikings are easily taking that division because JJ McCarthy is like God. I'm not seeing it. I don't know where this came from.
Vikings dead last in my predictions. They were last year and they surprised people, but they're dead last in mine.
I got them the same.
Bears. So this is, I wish Pops was here because I can see his glasses fogging up with how this question sort of phrased. Is Ben Johnson really the solution? And what I mean by that is he going to be able to solve a quarterback that, in my opinion, really struggles to stay in the pocket and throw?
Yes. It's not Caleb. I don't know how to phrase this. That's how Caleb Williams plays, right? Like that's how he's kind of always played. But an offensive coordinator minded coach who can call plays or draw up schemes that prevents that from becoming even, an option solves that problem. If you have a scheme that is get the ball out quick, ultimately it's going to come down to his offensive line. Yes, Caleb Williams did a lot of his own damage last year by doing some of those scrambling, but it's also, you have to go, there were times where he didn't even have a second to even scan the field. So he was like preconditioned to, I either got to throw this ball or start scrambling because I'm going to get hit and I'm tired of it. So Ben Johnson could, if the offensive line gives the protection that Caleb Williams needs. Like, that's what it comes. It's not so much of Ben Johnson, it's more the offensive line, in my opinion.
I get that.
Because the talent is there. I mean, like, decision making aside, like, the talent for Caleb Williams is there. I think everybody still knows that it's there.
On the offensive side, dude, they're stacked. Like, you got Luther Burden, the number 1 guy out of Missouri, brand new rookie. You have DJ Moore coming back, and then you got the kid last year out of Washington. His name's blanking on me. That came out of Washington. That Odunze. Like, they have the guys. Like, for Caleb to have success, they went out and they get Thuney. They get the guys that they needed to to build a team. They have a defense. They had a defense. The defense kept them in games last year. Like, they should have beat the Commanders. They should have beat the Lions. They should have beat the Packers. Like, they were right. Like, I can see Pops, because I'm sure Pops would be the same way. He'd be like, they were right there. Like, if you sort of like how you talked about the Chiefs, like if they just drop half the 1-score games that they were in, they're not in the playoffs. The Bears did the opposite. They're in the playoffs.
The funny thing is, I feel like that logic doesn't apply to winning games, like or losing games. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're barely winning games, you can very easily see how you lose those games. But like statistically, I feel like if you're barely losing games, it's probably because there's a reason. And that's just my own opinion. Like, you could easily continue to repeat as like barely losing games perennially. Forever. Yeah. So,
final team with the Packers. Does Golden fix the offense?
I mean, he's not going to break it. I don't think it's necessarily broken to begin with. I think they do well what they're already good at doing. Like, Jordan Love is a good quarterback who's going to get his guys the ball. Josh Jacobs is an absolute workhorse, and that kind of sets the tone for everything. And I think they're going to be very, very similar to last year.
This, to me, is where it's sort of like when it's like the Browns drafting quarterbacks. When you spend all your time focusing on quarterbacks, a lot of other things go unattended. The Packers for years have drafted DB, defensive line, DB, defensive line. It's like you never found the solution. And all you did is then you had to settle for guys that are still good. Don't get me wrong. Like, Watkins is good. Dobbs and other guys, when they're healthy, are good, but they didn't get that exception. I always think of like Mike Tomlin when he was talking to Chase Young and was like, I would love to have a player like you, but we're never bad enough to draft a player like you. And it's like the Packers, on the other hand, it's like they have times where they could have drafted a guy, like they had the ability to take Jefferson. They had the ability to take other guys, chose not to. And it's like now we're getting to the stage where you're like, they're so excited about Golden, but I sit back, and the reason I ask that question is I think there's this expectation that they're like, we finally took a wide receiver in the first round. It's going to be amazing. And it's like, it's really not. Like, it's going to look the exact same thing as last year. They'll be a little bit better, but it's not going to be this revolution for them.
And I agree, but at the same time, like, they don't need that revelation. Like, they don't need that. Like, it's just a better weapon. So I think, yeah, he's going to help them for sure. He's not going to hurt them. But again, I don't think they needed a ton of help to begin with. So
fair enough. All right. Division picks, and then we'll get going with the playoffs. AFC West. You already made it clear that you don't have the Chiefs winning it. So who you got?
I got the Chargers.
I got the Chiefs. I've got the Chargers 2, Broncos 3, Raiders 4.
I got Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders.
Wow. Do you even have the Chiefs making the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay. AFC North. I've got the Ravens as division champ.
Same.
I've got the Steelers at number 2.
I got Bengals 2.
I've got Bengals 3. We both have Browns 4.
Yes.
AFC East. Who you got winning?
Bills.
Same. Number 2?
Dolphins.
Wow, I got Pats.
I thought about it. I got the Pats 3, but just from I don't see like the Pats are going to be better, but I just don't see them overcoming how bad they still kind of were last year. And I don't. And again, I don't think the Dolphins necessarily got worse, so I think it's going to be kind of a repeat of how last year was.
Pops did have his division winners picked. He didn't have the division, but he went Chargers with you, Bills, and Ravens. And then for his South, he's got Houston. That's where I got as well.
Same.
I got Jags 2, Titans 3, then Colts.
I got Jags, Colts, Titans.
Fair enough. NFC West. Who you got?
Rams.
Rams the same. Pops has got the Rams as well, if they stay healthy. Then I got the Niners, Cards, Seattle.
I have the Cards as 2, the Niners at 3, and then Seattle 4.
Yeah, you got the Cards making the playoffs. NFC East. You got the Eagles number 1.
Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants.
Same. He's got Eagles and Washington to make a push. North. Who do you got?
Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings.
I've got Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings. I don't know why. It's hard to get behind the Lions 3 straight years. The South. You got the Bucks,
Yes.
division champs.
Yes.
I've got the Bucks as well. Then I've got Panthers, Falcons, Saints.
Yeah, I thought about that as well. It's a very similar situation to like the Dolphins and the Pats of just like, I think the Panthers will be better. I don't see the Falcons necessarily being any worse because there was a lot of games that they dropped that they shouldn't necessarily have. And then just from last year's records, it's kind of a big jump for me. It can obviously happen, but it's like a big jump for them to go all the way up above. So I've got Falcons, Panthers, then Saints.
Gotcha. He's got the Bucks to win the division. Who's your number 1 seed in the AFC?
The Ravens.
We'll just go through seeds. You got Ravens 1. Who do you got as 2?
Bills.
Okay, we're mono right now. 3.
3, I've got the Chargers.
Chargers. I got the Chiefs. 4. You got the Texans.
Yeah.
5.
Broncos.
I got the Steelers. 6.
Bengals.
I got the Chargers. 7.
Chiefs.
AFC West heavy for you. NFC number 1 seed.
Eagles.
Same. Number 2 seed.
I got the Lions.
I got the Bucks. I like the Bucks this year. Number 3 seed.
I actually went back and forth between this one, and this came down to the health for me. I almost put the Rams at number 2. But again, there's just a little bit of question about health on that side. So I got the Rams at 3.
I've got the Packers, and I've got Rams at 4.
I got Bucks at 4.
Bucks at 4.
Yep.
Number 5 seed.
Commanders.
Same. Commanders. 6.
Packers.
I've got the Lions. 7.
This was the one where I was like, I was really looking for a team, and this is where I was like, Cowboys? And I was like, no, not Cowboys. So I kind of threw it out there as just like a mix-up, but this is where I got the Cards.
And this is where I got the Panthers. So, wild card weekend, I've got the Bills versus the Bengals, the Chiefs versus the Chargers, the Texans versus the Steelers. I've got the Texans winning, the Chiefs winning, and the Bills winning.
So I've got the Bills versus the Chiefs, the Bills winning. Even though we talked about this, I do think this is an unfortunate event for the Bills here. They're going to beat the Chiefs. I got the Chargers versus the Bengals, and I've got the Chargers winning. And then the Texans versus the Broncos, I got the Texans winning.
Wow. NFC side, I've got mixing up I've got teams scratched out and everything. I've got the Rams playing the Commanders. I've got the Lions playing the Packers. And then I've got the Bucks playing the Panthers.
Bunch of division matchups in wildcard weekend.
I know. It'd be great just because you've seen them. And I always like it when this happens in the wild card weekend because I find that it produces better games because they know one another so well.
Yeah, it's usually like a game 3 rubber match.
Yep. I've got the Bucks beating the Panthers, the Packers beating the Lions, and then the Commanders beating the Rams.
I've got the Lions versus the Cards, and the Lions taking that one.
Okay.
The Rams playing the Packers, and I've got the Packers winning that one.
Wow.
And then the Commanders playing the Bucks, and the Commanders winning that one.
Okay. So your NFC or your AFC divisional round, who you got playing one of there?
Ravens, Bills, and this is where I say unfortunate event for the Bills, where it's like they finally are going to get past the Chiefs and be like, oh my God, we did it. And then they're going to lose to the Ravens in the next round, which would totally make sense, right? Like, think about that. Like, you finally overcome your demon, and there's just going to be this huge hangover from like, oh my God, like, we've seen that happen all the time, and they're going to lose to the Ravens.
I've got the Ravens playing the Texans, and I've got the Ravens winning. And then the other matchup, I have the Bills playing the Chiefs, and I got the Bills beating the Chiefs on this one.
Hey, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
So
setting up a Ravens-Bills AFC Championship.
I got the Chargers playing the Texans, and I think the Chargers are going to win.
So you got Ravens-Chargers for
AFC Championship.
The Harbaugh Bowl. Again. Wow. NFC side, I've got the Eagles playing the Commanders, and then I've got the Packs playing the Bucks.
Which I didn't do this right because they reseed, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So really, if it came out the way it should have came out, I should have had the Ravens playing the Texans, which I think the Ravens will win, and then the Chargers playing the Bills, which in that case I would say the Bills are going to win.
So you've got the Ravens playing the Bills.
Yeah, that's how I should have seeded it. I didn't seed it right because they do the reseeding. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're smart, unlike college football.
That's my bad. So in this case, I would have the Eagles playing the Packers, and I got the Eagles winning.
Okay.
And then I've got the Lions playing the Commanders, and I think the Lions are going to win.
I've got Eagles playing Commanders, Pack playing the Bucks. I've got the Eagles and the Buccaneers winning, going NFC Championship.
Wow.
Eagles Bucks. Baker gets a time to shine, mainly just to yet again. I feel like it should always come back anytime Baker has success to being like, "Hey Browns, this is what you could have had." So you got Ravens, Bills. Who you got? You've already given the prelude to this. It's the Ravens. I've got the same. I feel the same way. I think that this is one of those ones that the Chiefs is not the team the Bills need to avoid. It's the Ravens because of what happened last year. I don't see the Ravens dropping to against.
You mean Mark Andrews? Yes, set me up perfect for that one.
Yeah, I did set you up perfect. Yeah, that was great. And I Eagles Bucks. I can't pick against the Eagles until someone shows me otherwise. So I got the Eagles winning.
Yeah, Eagles. So in that case, I'd have the Eagles playing the Lions. And even though I think it's going to be a close game, I think the Eagles are going to take that one.
We did not coordinate this. So
Ravens, Eagles.
Ravens, Eagles. Your Super Bowl champ is, I'll say it on 3. You ready? 1, 2, Ravens. Oh! Well, here we go. Ravens ain't winning the Super Bowl.
You bet the house against that.
Yeah.
What did Pops have? He didn't send it.
He didn't send it. He's got the Bears beating he's got the Bears beating the Jags.
Right.
Yeah, it's so hard to pick against the Ravens just based upon last year. I didn't think there was a better team in the playoffs. And we both said it. It was like if the Ravens got past the Bills, they were beating the Chiefs. Like they were going to beat the Chiefs. Whether or not they beat the Eagles, the Eagles lost a lot that the Eagles are going to be a question mark. Their offense is going to be fine. Offense will be a juggernaut. Offensive line stays the same. You still have AJ, Devontae, Dallas Goedert, Saquon, and Jalen. As long as no injuries, offense is fine. They lost a ton off of that defensive line. Now they still have Jalen Carter and they still have, the secondary and everything, but from a defensive line, the sacks that game, all I ask people to do, if you question, oh man, I can't believe you think the Eagles would lose. Go back and watch that playoff game against the Rams. If that game had another 5 minutes, the Rams win that game.
Again, this is one of those where it's easy to have the recency bias to go dude, the Eagles dominated the Chiefs. That's two things. The Chiefs weren't that good of a football team. We saw that all year. And then 2, you forget how close the Eagles were to losing to the Rams, right? they're a beatable team. Like it's easy to think like because how they dominated the Chiefs that the Eagles are this juggernaut cannot be beaten kind of team. And I'm sorry, that doesn't exist in the NFL. Like, and if it does, it's just for such a slim moment of time, and like that's not it right now. They're a very good team. We both got them repeating going to the Super Bowl, but like they are beatable. Every team is beatable.
100%. So that wraps it up. We got either the Bears or the Ravens winning. Thanks, Pops. I hope he watches this, just so he knows. Yeah, that's what you get for not. I told him 2 times, Bears, send me your picks. And I didn't want it. I was like, I woke up this morning, didn't see anything. And I was like, it's going to be the Bears winning the Super Bowl. I don't know who they're going to play. And the second I saw T-Law's name on my card, I was like, they're playing the Jags.
He got auto drafted.
Yeah.
This is like the auto draft version of your picks.
Yeah, and except you didn't even have the safe function on where it drafts. It's like, why did that draft 7 kickers? It's like, I don't know, dog.
Bears.
All right. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else?
That's it.
All right. That wraps up the NFL prediction episode. Thanks for tuning in. We'll come back to you here in a few weeks once the season gets underway. Time Pull Chalk. See ya.